iTiS Will of Worship Fellowship. Welcome to our weekly catch up. The weekly catch up is where we discuss the top stories of the week, what has made headlines in Uganda, here, in East Africa, Africa, and the world at large. It's been an eventful week, I think. Some good news, some bad news, depending on where you're standing. It's coming to the end of the year. How has the year been for you? Yeah, probably before the end of the year, we'll have one final catch up on 30th, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll determine that depending on you if you guys are available or not. Anyhow, this week, today morning, woke up to the very sad news of a fire in Makerere, Kavule. A fire which destroyed people's small businesses, tailoring shops, garages, motor garages, and things like that, rental houses. And it is alleged that this was because of a dispute between the landlady, who was also apparently the chairperson of the circle of that area, collecting money throughout the year. And then time for sharing came and she could not account for all the money. Apparently, the people were not happy with that. Some decided to take revenge on her. Apparently, she owned the property where these businesses were as well. Yeah, so we'll discuss that. And then, of course, the treating general is back, this time with a bang, as always. He has tweeted some very interesting things over the last 1 week, including singing praises of a certain Mpuga and abusing Bobby Wine's teeth and calling him non-presidential material. But he says Mpuga is one we can work with even. He's a bit presidential. Mpuga himself coming out to say he's willing to talk to everybody who is for change. Of course, that doesn't do him any favors in his presidential ambitions, if you ask me. If you claim to be opposition, but then the person you're opposing is singing your praises, then yeah, question marks. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about last week, UCC came out and said they've introduced permits. Anybody intending to hold a show of any kind in Uganda needs a permit from UCC. This is in addition to, I think, KCCA, and I don't know if an URA gives a permit as well. But I know URA is always involved in these shows. They come and audit and then collect their taxes. Basically introducing another layer of bureaucracy in the entertainment industry, if you like. But they say part of the problem they're solving is at least the obscenities and control. Basically, they want control over shows. If people are going to sing vulgarity, somebody should be held accountable. Some artists will probably not be invited, depending on the permits granted, and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about that, as well as the assassination of one of the generals in Russia. The general is responsible for nuclear. His assassination was a bit, what should I call it? For me, when I was reading the story, it was a bit simplistic. How can a guy plant a bomb by your door, on the streets, and then you're walking? Anyway, it was a bit simple for a general to die like that, in my opinion. I think he should have been hit as if it matters. Anyway, yeah, so Isaiah's guys were hit. We'll talk about that. And then, if time, of course, time will allow, we'll talk about Abba Mayanja, who this week released the video about his father, who's Jose Chameleon, talking about his alcohol addiction and how nobody's helping. Promoters continue to book him, knowing the guy needs help. He needs to be in a rehab. He blames his grandparents for not taking care of their son. He actually claims two other uncles succumbed to this addiction because nobody really cares. So he called out his father and said, guys, if you care about my father like I do, come out and do something. Opinions are divided on this matter. How can a child, I think he's now 17, if I'm not mistaken, come out and say this about his father, and there are other ways of solving these issues. Some claim this boy has been Americanized. American kids have no respect for their parents, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, some people think It's actually a good thing if your son actually, is looking out for you. Maybe all other avenues have not what? Have not yielded any fruits. This is the best way of addressing the issue. Can we actually come out and talk about addictions without being nice? The Baganda are known for being nice and covering up things. So isn't it good to come out and call things by their right names and then we try and fix the problems? That will be our social topic. But first, let's go back to this fire in Makerere. Bob, can you talk? In a forum where we both are, you said government has done nothing. If it had been NUP, soldiers in that area, they would have come out with mambas and all sorts of things. I think that was far-fetched. This was a fire started by somebody seeking revenge. At least the information we have now. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, so again, I will still maintain that this government has a lot of intelligence, that any kavuyo or any kind of any fiasco around, they sniff so much that they get to know who is going to cause a riot anywhere. So I believe this was not something that just sprung up abruptly. I'm sure a word was around town, around the area, people talked about it. And by the time they escalated it to burning stuff, there was a like there was an indication that this is where things are going. So they just didn't come and set ablaze. I don't know whether you get me. So, and in the other forum, I compared it with, the way the government gets to know that, maybe opposition guys are going to sit somewhere and discuss this and just talk, and then they send red tops, or there are people who are marching to the parliament, corruption, and they hurry to swing into action, saying that these things are going to disrupt people's businesses. The people are going to lose their businesses and all that. Bagenda kusula ennyanja z'abakyala abatunda ku emidaala. So this kind of burning, I still believe, with the intelligence this government has, with the spies they have everywhere, if they really cared, they could have probably swung into action as they do, as we see them when there is that stuff to do with opposition. So that was my submission.
Aren't you giving these guys too much credit, Bob? Aren't you giving these guys too much credit?
Which guys?
I mean, the government.
No, but we see
having
them
an ear everywhere, and yet they can't do the most basic things.
But we see them stop. The opposition cannot do much, anyway. But what I wanted to submit on that issue on the other side is that, again, the government has given a lot of liberty for anyone to kind of take money from Ugandans and run off. We have had, I'm sure you have had all these in the past. You have had companies that come in, and some of us were actually victims because we really didn't, by then, we were not so cautious. Netutekamu sente bakupromisinze bw'oteeka wano sente tujja kuddiza bwezi till there was something called together we achieve more. There was,
Bob.
nkubye nnyo nedda amushwa kuno kuyinza okuba kuliko n'abalala be baakuba nze bankuba. I remember, because I was a working class trying to see if I can earn money on the side naively, nenteekamu sente zange ne basooka bampaayo, nenzizaamu ne bampaayo, ne ngamba let me add much more, ne bazikuba. So and these big groups come up, and they even have offices, and the government is not there to regulate them or to really scrutinize them. So this circle, I don't know much information, but this circle which you say was managed by either the landlord or whoever, money was being collected. I think the government needs to do a little more to continue educating people about these schemes. They cannot protect everyone. I can say that I can't blame them completely because they cannot go everywhere protecting. Who are you giving your money to? You, what are you doing? But I think there's some regulation they can put up and it can help protect innocent victims. And in such a case, as we see in that example, where people collected money, I'm assuming maybe they were collecting money, and then, as you said, in the end, the money is nowhere to be seen. Someone has either run away with it or used it in a different way. It's unfortunate that property has been destroyed. It's unfortunate that people have lost their cars, their businesses. But it's Ugandans tetuyiga. We really hurry to trust people with money, especially, I mean, nze wenteka kati ekikumi mba negendereza bwe nkwata ekikumi nkiteeka wano mba manya nti, you know, I really have to review and know that the Wednesday is this money. It can't be safe completely, but you really have to be cautious. So nete tuyiga. So other groups are coming up. I'm sure there are other groups right now in Uganda where people are putting their money. Era bagenda kubabba.
Bob Weber, Benson, one, I think Bob is giving the government too much credit in terms of knowing what's happening in each and every part of Uganda. I think they actually don't. And that kind of plays into this whole belief of, mzee wa amani nyo. Or maybe it's me who doesn't understand how government works. Anyway, Peterson, there are many issues in this particular story. The issue of collecting money under a circle, which circles seem to be encouraged even by Mzee himself. And then the issue of seeking revenge. I don't mind, you know, so as a governor centers actually never nice. So really, if after you've served for a whole year and someone cannot explain where the money is, what should Omuntu Wansi do in this case?
Me, I'm going to start from a point of information for Bob. Of course, you see, Bob, for him, he's already is biased. Whatever whatever he submits, it is usually subject. It is usually biased. But the point of information is that what happened was not a planned attack. These guys went to get their money, and they got little. So it was out of anger that they decided to riot. So it's not that they planned that tomorrow we're going to burn a house, so police was expected to be there. And I think to them, they did not expect the damage they caused. Maybe it was just out of anger, because they are supposed to receive about 30 million, and the treasurer, who was the landlady, only had 12. So there's some money that was not accounted for. So it was something that it was erratic, something like that. And this actually shows the people that we're really dealing with. Every time you see these things of mob justice, what you can really understand that that age group and that age group where they are that energetic and they want to take things in their hands. It is the population of Uganda. But me, I'm going to only comment on the economy side of it. When I read this story, I related it to NSSF, because you see, NSSF is we're doing social security. We save and we hope to get our money when we are old. So these guys were saving throughout the year, and they hope maybe they're going to get their money at the end of the year to go and maybe buy a bull or whatever when they're going back to Christmas. So even us, as we save in NSSF, that is what we're hoping for. But as we save, our treasurer may not be trustworthy like this lady. You may be having figures on your phone as they send us the balances when the money is actually not there. And if you guys looked at the population results, the first one they released before they removed the report, over 70% of Ugandans are within that group that is working. No, they're within that group between below 35. Now, the people that are saving in NSSF right now are more than the ones that are actually getting the money from it. Remember, even when they put midterm access, there are not so many people that were qualifying for that money. So our population is a young population where most of us are working. Now here is the problem. Now, if the percentage, if everything was working out well, then the math would eventually iron, would eventually even out. But now here the problem with Uganda is that we are no longer producing. If you saw even from the census, if you saw our fertility rates, they're actually going down. Yes, our population is growing at about 3%, but it is growing at a reducing rate. Instead of growing, it is growing at a reducing rate. So we're producing fewer. You find your father had 4. Now for you, instead of having 4, you have 1. Yes, you've added, but you haven't added like your father. So we're growing at a reduced one. So that means that 50 years from now, the people that will be working to support us after we have retired are going to be fewer. I don't know if it makes sense. Eh?
Yeah, because we're getting less kids, fewer kids.
Because, for example, if let's say my father was a civil servant, okay, if my father was a worker, my father gave birth to 4. Now 4 of us will be working, saving for 1 person. Now, here is the thing. Now, 4 of us, when we get old, we have not produced the same number as our father produced, meaning the people that will be saving for us are going to be fewer than the people that will be withdrawing the money. Now, this is what is going to happen when it comes to that time, because if you get 35 average and add 20 years, 20 years from now, NSSF is going to run bankrupt because everyone is going to be cashing out money. So we will go to NSSF to demand our money, and our money may not be there. And that's the thing that really, you see the thing that happened in Makerere can happen to any sitting government, and you see it being overthrown. Because you see, if the 70% of the people are having the ACA saving, waiting for it, and then it reaches that time and then the money is not there, or NSSF is not able to pay the money. That's how such demonstrations start. So me, that is the thing that I pick from there. And I think NSSF needs to really, really be very, very careful. They need to ensure they save our money properly, use our money properly, because our demographics are bad, that we're going to age at the same time, yet we're not producing enough for people who are going to work for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ped. Mwanacha Joli. Banka zituwolera ku percent nyingi. 25%, 30%. Abantu bekozeemu omulimu bakoze kasaako. Ate addukanya saako sente aziridde. Kati abantu bakola ki?
Abantu baddemu amagezi. Abantu baddemu amagezi.
Batya?
Obuzibu bwe tulina ndowooza abakulembeze oba n'abasomesa bonna simanyi the whole thing. Twetaaga some mindset change ey'omuggundo. Like enkyuka y'okutegeera kwaffe. Kuba bino ebintu bibeerawo every now and then. Buli December, weeks 2-3 ezisembayo bino ebintu tubiwulira ewa Kiseka, gye mukolera abantu like ate nga ensi yaffe erimu okuyiribwa kungi. Kyekivaako offices okubeera nga balya ssente ezibaweereddwa. I think we need to reduce the cash.
Itwakira bukabuka zo oliwa.
tukozese nnyo digital. So you need a digital nga solution yaki nga telinaba ndi ku kitiko. Mbadde ngamba nga tetunaba kwaniriza digital
bilioni nkaaga.
Genda mu maaso Petson alina okummuting. Genda mu maaso munakyala.
nga tetunaba
Wakeebuukabuuka.
ataawo
Yogera.
nti nga tetunaba kukola ki kutunuulira kino eno oli ayinza okuba nga yakozeseza advantage. Tubirabyeko nnyo nti ekibuga gye kikoma okukulaakulana emiriro gitabuka. So kisobola okubeera nga tekyavudde awo ng'oli yakozeseza advantage. Tuyinza okuba nga waliwo ayagala okuzimbawo kyaki omulala okumpi oba ng'ayagala
bakola owino.
ne bagyokya emirundi nga 3-4. So omuntu n'agamba nfaaki n'ensi. So nga yakyandibadde kibeerawo oba ne baba compensatinga lumu. Oyinza okwekanga nga waliyo negotiations eziri emabega waakyo nga tetuzimanyi nga naye bo bennyini bakimanyi ne bakozesa advantage. So that is my submission.
Thank you munakyalo. Tom. Omuntu agoyingewa.
Hello. Wanjisebo.
Omuntu agoyingewa. Takuba mubba. Bankazi mubba.
Wanji?
Kakati bani. Ompulira.
Nkuwulira sebo.
Mbuuza omuntu wa bulijjo agoyingewa.
Omuntu owa bulijjo afe yeetuge agwe mu nnyanja asime ekinnya agwemu asookeyo omutwe abanaasigalawo beeyokye. Ensonga zange ziizino. Amawulire gaakatugamba emirundi ebiri. Omulundi ogwasooka it is about 3 years. Nti woolaba obukadde 14 balwadde ba mitwe mu Bannayuganda. Recently, I think mwezi guwedde oba the other month, government era yatugamba okuyita mu mawulire gaayo nti Bannayuganda 34.6% bateekwa kubeera butabika. Bano bo baalambula ne bagamba nti ensonga lwaki bateekwa kubeera butabika, the cost of living has gone high. Abantu basobeddwa awaka ne mu kibira olw'embeera y'okwebeezaawo. Kati abasako yaddenga bali justified okukima sente zaabwe n'okudimandinga sente zaabwe, naye culture ey'abantu okusevinga sente omwaka mulamba bazisaasaanye mu Desemba ne mu New Year wiiki esooka balyoke bakomewo basevinge bwe batyo. Saagala kukinenyeza Museveni ku luno. I think Bannayuganda tuli biwumba tutu, tuli basiru. No, moderator, look. Abantu basevinze
Cheyawo yasooka amenyewo statement ye.
Kale Professor Dr. Nicholas gwe teweekalakaasa lwa musaala. Kubanga teweekalakaasa toli Munnayuganda. Kanveewaawo gwe nkuggyemu era soogera ku bafaanananga ggwe. Now, abantu abasevinze okumala omwaka mulamba nga basevingira lunaku wiiki namba okuva nga 22, 23, 24 paka nga 2. I think abantu abo tebabeera bagezi, bali justified okwagala sente zaabwe, ekyo nakigambye, naye tebalina justification kwekalakaasa kubanga sente tezizze ate nga bagenda kusasanya sente zo ziggwewo. Ensonga lwaki baagala sente si ya development. Abamu kubo baagala sente bagende baziike sente mu mayumba gaabwe mu byalo mubagenda okuteeka otulo. Now look at the damage ekoleddwa. Kituufu government eremeddwa okuyamba bannayuganda okuba assuringa n'okubawa security mu kutereka sente zaabwe obwo buvunaanyizibwa bwa gavumenti. Naye naffe ng'abantu tuteekwa okutandika okulowooza n'okumanya ebintu ebitukolera n'ebitatukolera. Kati bw'oyokya ebidduka n'oyokya properties n'obulamu n'obulumya olwa million 8 otegeeza ki gw'oli mulamu? Ndowooza obudde butuuse gavumenti enoonye the 34% abalalu ebatwala ebutabika. Ezimbe facilities eza rehabilitation nyingi ebateeka eyo. Kubanga how do you destroy properties just because of million 8 ate ng'ogenda kusasanya within a day or two? Thank you.
Nte bagiyita musaayi ssebo. Ekibuuzo ky'obuuza ozanyira ku musaayi. Isaiah, dakika 5 zawedde ku watuuse. Tuli ku nsonga ya Makerere Kivulu. Kivulu Kavule. I think I mixed up. Okay, Isaiah tayogera. Naye n'obudde butuli njagala tugendeko ku nsonga endala ya UCC. Dr. Mukwana kantandike naawe ku ensonga eno. UCC ya introducing the permits. Ng'ogenda kukola concert wetaaga permit okuva mu UCC. This is an addition to the existing okuva permits okuva mu KCCA, permission okuva mu police n'awalala. Argument yawe bagamba bagala controllinga bibeera ku shows zino oba ku concerts zino. Babanning ennyimba ezimu last week no zamwamanya. Kakati bagamba no level 2 nti we want control over what happens at a concert, so you need permission. Otubuulire ogenda kuyita bayimbi ki, otubuulire and so on and so forth. Dr. Mukwana gy'oli?
Yendi sawa.
Okirowoozaako ki?
I agree. I think it's a brilliant idea. Kubanga concerts zibeeramu ebintu bingi. Sometimes zibeeramu ne consequences nyingi. So that's a brilliant idea. Probably it will increase the security of those who participate in them. Nze ndi okumuwa bataparticipating mu bintu ebyo eddiini yakiŋŋaana ekyo. So
concert kituufu okuziregulatinga naye abantu abasinga content eno bamukonsumingira mu maka gaabwe na mu mabaala na ku internet. Abagenda mu shows kale babeera bangi naye tebenkana na baana basigala ewaka abali ku TV zaabwe ku internet n'ebiringa ebyo. Bw'oba oyagala kuregulatinga content lwaki totandikira ku level eyo?
Maybe bali kwanjuluza tekinaba kuvaayo bulungi. Probably ekinaba kivuddeyo naye nga I think it's a brilliant idea honestly. Naye twetaaga tukisome mu bujjuvu bwakyo tulyoke tukidissectinge bulungi. Nze sinakisomako so sikimanyi bulungi naye Peter ndowooza yakisomyeko era wuuno ali ready.
Petero
wangi sebo
UCC yaleese permits okukola ekivulu wetaaga olukusa. Kumanya abayimbi ki abagenda okujja bayimbe ennyimba ki n'ebiringa ebyo. Olowooza basolvinga kizibu ki?
Ekibuuzo ky'obuuzizza kikambwe nnyo era nga kyekibuuzo kyange oba basolvinga kizibu ki kuba twetaaga okumanya nti ndowooza tusobola okumanya ekizibu kye bagonjoola bwe tunaatunuulira ebisaanyizo. Bisaanyizo ki ebikuweesa pamiti? Ndowooza we twetaaga okutunuulira. For example, katwogere ku kibadde mu mawulire. Gravity Omutujju ayogeredde ebigambo eby'obuwemu mu kyayita okuyimba. Waliwo liri puzzle, simanyi liri puzzle n'amannya nago gawulira. waliwo n'amannya ogawulira liri puzzle liri puzzle simanyi ogulavita omutu oli omuwala yani omulala waliwo omuwala awo waliwo omulala bali basatu bwe bataddeko ekibaluwa kibakuntumye leero tubadde tuwuliriza ddole y'omwana bayisebatta kakati ne tuwuliriza n'omutujju simanyi omutujju simanyi okwepitta kakati ne tulabanga content asobola okubeera nga y'omu oba subject matter naye nga packaging ndala nnyo kugamba ne tulaba abantu nti Sebatta ayimbira mu wisdom ate bano gravity omutujju bayimbira mu hanga mu njala okay kama tulaba generational differences oba sina generational oba differences oba upbringing so ndowooza emu ku bisaanyizo bya pamiti eno oyimba ki what is the theme and what is the subject matter how have you packaged this artistically okay naye ndowooza ekyo kijja kubeera kizibu nnyo kubanga tuba tulina kye bayita queer theory Isaac specialist wa literature tulina queer theory literary theory egamba nti bw'oba olina ky'ogamba naddala nga kikunyiiza oba kikusanyusa kiwemulewo wemula kofulu wemula emiti wemula abantu kakati ekyo nakyo ndowooza bannamateeka bajja kutunnyonnyola kubanga waliwo mu akademiya tulina ne theories ezikkiriza obuwemu n'okuseeguwala kw'emimwa n'omuntu mulamba tulina abantu balamba balina na PhD era bazidifendinga
beyambula n'okweyambula n'okuba amabeere mu mitayimbwa nga Isaiah bw'atera okugamba
tulina nokyogerako then tulina even media obscenity nayo weeri then tulina church obscenity ne wabeerawo bapasita nga bali awo bali mu buwemu bwereere itegedde I think tulina professional obscenities everywhere tulina professional obscenities mu basomesa teaching obscenities ne tulina theological obscenities engineering obscenities ekintu ndowooza tulina okigaziyaamu ne tukitwala ku eyo level ne tumanya nti ekivulu kigenda kubeera wa ku ssaawa mmeka okusinziira ku bigendo yimbibwa n'okukola ki ba myaka emeka abayingira okay then consent ability y'okutegeera nayo ndowooza tugikebere tikakati olina ability
mwagala gavumenti ekole ekibannaye
anti kakati ye yaleese etteeka feka kintu bagamba nti bisaanyizo twagala tucekinge ebisaanyizo ki ebikkirizisa ekibaala kubanga bwe wabanga abantu abo ne mu famire esooka mulimu ab'ebibaala kakati anti leero kafungulankete leero olunaku lwa kafungulankete kakati tujja kumanya oba nakyo kikkirizibwa sebo kankomaawo
okay Bob olina kyogamba ndaba otaddeko microphone
UCC tulekemu kubanga simanyi olwaki tesobola kukolera mu already existing structures juzi wano emabegako twakate abayimbi twakabateekako already gundi eyakolebwa eyo eya public order management kati abayimbi police oba ogenda kukola ekivulu promota yenna alina okutegeeza poliisi emuwa obukuumi simanyi aginnyonnyole bano bagenda kuyita lwaki UCC tekozesa teita through those same means ne wabuwa instructions nti poliisi kati buli agenda okuyimba bino byalina okugoberera lwaki naye oteekawo omuwaatu ogw'okubba ate abayimbi kati omanyi pamiti eyo okugikuwa bajja kugamba omuyimbi sasulayo $10,000 ye by the way UCC erina offices throughout Uganda nti omuyimbi ali ggulu ali aluwa apulaninga ekivulu ekya Christmas asooka wandikire UCC Kampala afune pamiti ate agende ku poliisi ate naye agitegeeze ogamba lwaki they should use the existing structures bwe baagala okubeerako implementation gye basobola okuteekawo so si kuteekawo ate muwaatwa mulala naye ago gaagala kubba bubbi there is usually no good intention of those things kyovula amateeka wano oba gundi ze baleeta tebazireeta mu bulungi usually waliwo other things so kati UCC yagala collectingiramu ssente ejja kwesanga ejja kukkiriza omuyimbi okuyimba naye akole byayagala era ng'atuuse ku stage so bo kasita baba nga certificate wali oli agikubyeko omukono ekikumi ona muyimbi akisasudde and all that so for me I think UCC tulekemu weba yagala okubeerako nekye-implementing okuregulatinga 83 already structures already ezateekebwawo abayimbi mwe bayita oba bapromoters mwe bayita okukola ebivulu bawe guidelines saate sigamba nti ate kati mulina okufuna permission oba certificate from us so that is what I wanted to indicate.
Thank you Bob. Peter owanise omukono
Yes, no mbadde nebaza Bob nti ekintu kya dispute nti bwe babuna permit tuyina sente ze tusasulayo tebalina kye bakoze okuba nga permit oyina kosasula kiyikiddaawo kasi tokiteekako omuwendo nga gwa ssente oba tolina tteeka lyekoze tofuka wano fayina $5,000 kati oba okoze etteeka ki maliriza ssebo.
Okay, Tom, your hand is up.
Yes, sebo. Okusookera ddala waliwo olugero olugamba nti embazzi yayingira ekibira naye nga omukono gwayo gwa ttabi lya muti emiti egimu ne gigamba oyo mulabe waffe ko egimu nti majority nti oyo munnaffe tolaba nti alina hando ya muti. Abayimbi ba Uganda abayimbi abamu bwe bagaanibwa okuyimba mu Uganda abamu balowooza nti kinaakoma ku oyo oba abo era gavumenti n'etandika okubayita eggulu n'okubafuula abaganzi n'okuyita abawemuzi ku mikolo gya gavumenti bayimbe okwepiica bayimbe ebirala ne balowooza nti biri awo so tebaamanya nti gavumenti erina engeri gyeteyagalamu bantu bakuŋŋaanya abantu nga balina obusobozi obukuŋŋaanya abantu nga si ba gavumenti eno tebaagala naye baba nga ba gavumenti eno ebeekengera nawo kino ekya UCC si kya UCC wabula kya gavumenti ensonga bbiri. 1 baagala kufuna ssente mu bayimbi kubanga tolina ngeri gy'ogenda kufuna certificate eno oba olukusa luno oluwandiike nga tosasuddeeyo ssente. Ekyokubiri baagala kuregulatinga kumanya muyimbi ki ateekwa okuyimba muyimbi ki atateekwa kuyimba ono ayimba bigambo ki byayimba message ki gyayagala etuuke mu bantu bubaka ki obuli emabega w'ebigambo bye era awagira sayidi ki awagira ani oyo bagambe nti oyo tetugenda kumuwa lukusa naye nga kiyise mu mateeka. So nze ndowooza nti bwe kinaava ku bayimbi kijja kudda awalala kijja kudda n'ewammwe eyo mwabatula mu zi ofiisi ezennene ezo kijja kujja actually tuzuukuke twekaabire kubanga kino ono kookolo mwennyini neyangasebe moderator
munakyalo
Bob njagala mugamba nti already amateeka agagaana weegali so kino kye baleeta tekireeta tteeka mbu tekikifuula ligo okusinga kiri ekibaddewo kuba poliisi esobola okugamba nti tejja kusobola kubawa bukuumi already kiba kifudde era tukirabyeko emirundi mingi so argument ogamba mbuno baagadde kijirira mu mateeka nedda ekituufu kiri nti baagadde creatingirawo we bayimirira mu kakoona balinde ono atuwe n'ono atuwe n'ono atuwe n'ono atuwe end of story tekirina kirala.
Tebyakusoloza kale. I think ekyo mutuyambye. Katugende kukiddako. Petson, tell us about your Russian general who was killed this week.
There's a jet.
Uh-huh.
Before that, may I have a different view on the UCC directive?
Okay.
Hello?
In a minute. In 1 minute.
Me, I would do. I think this is just wasting our time. And I don't like doing this. Even in football, saying that if this team doesn't win, but me, I dare UCC to implement this. We are going to be here. We'll continue talking. We want to. I dare it if it's going to work, because you see, what happens? These evils that you're seeing are for people that are mature, 18 and above. And these people that are 18 and above, there's no one that you can actually restrict. That is one. Two, when you look at the population, because me, I'm going to go back to the demographics. These are young people. What do they want? Do they want to see Nanduja singing on stage, or they want to see a Shiba who is half naked singing on stage? So you also have to understand the consumers. If you're making these laws, for which people are you making the laws for? And that's why I'm saying this thing here is because of that generational difference. A guy like Nyombi Tembo, who is 60, is seated in office making a law that is going to plan for and a 21-year-old. So really, I think they're just wasting their time, and these things will continue. They will continue doing their obscenity. Their comedians will continue doing what they are doing, because that is what the market wants. After all, we work from 8 to 5, and then night is for happiness, and weekend is also for happiness. Happiness is not only seen in these Gomeses of the Nandutus. People of Nanduja, people want to see happiness, Shiba or Spice Diana. So really, I think UCC is just wasting their time. And remember, the musicians now, all of them report to Guru. So if they go until the second in command, that this is what we want, and he's happy with it, the UCC is just wasting their time. They will continue performing. Remember, there's even recently, Lil Puzzle was banned, but that very weekend he was performing, and even this weekend as we are speaking, you see that Gravity and Lil Puzzle are performing on some stages. Thank you.
What did you tell me about the Russian general? You forgot about it.
Hey, the Russian general, the guy who was killing people, who was, they put a bomb. I think it was homemade. They put it in a motorcycle, and they placed the bomb near his apartment. And apparently they're saying that that guy who did it was working in Russia. So he was used by of course, Ukraine is saying they are the ones who did it, but I think there's some support maybe from America. And then they planted a bomb near his apartment. So when he was he getting out, or he was already in the apartment, it killed him and his.
He was getting out.
It killed him and his bodyguard. And Putin is going to speak. Of course, his heart. You know, sometimes when an assassination happens within your country, and they kill a top official like that, then it exposes, it ashames you, it exposes your unseriousness in terms of your security. So one is exposing him that really you're not sophisticated as you think, that we can come and kill someone next to you. Then the other thing is he has lost someone who has actually been very, very influential in this Ukraine war. And we are just waiting to see his reaction, because they arrested that guy who did the bomb. And I think they have also made some other arrests, but we're waiting to see his reaction. What is he going to do? Then also, there is also a story where they say maybe it was an insider job, that it was actually not Ukraine. It was these guys themselves. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Isaiah, I see your mic is on. Finally, can you talk?
Hello, how are you, everyone? Praise God.
Amen.
Mm.
Discussed 3 things so far. Which one are you going to talk about before we go into our social topic? Choose one.
I will choose the one that is local for me.
Huh?
The United States and Ukraine and Germany and all the NATO members must understand that their proxy is going to highly pay, like he has always paid, for every damage that he has caused on our land. So we are going to respond, and by the time Trump comes in, Ukraine will be licking its wounds. I can assure you, you cannot kill such an instrumental general like that one, and then we keep quiet. Just like my boss said, we are going to respond, and you will see. Thank you, moderator.
The general was killed in a very simplistic way.
No, it was not simply. It was not
Isaiah Ogambye, you are going to comment on a local issue. Kati Uganda wagitulekera.
no.
Isaiah Murasha, ulijua chimanyi.
Isaiah is Isaiah Nov.
Isaiah Nov. You know, wamukubye mu simplistic way, Isaiah now.
No, it was not simplistic.
Just like any other general anyway.
It wasn't simplistic because even the person who did not detonated the bomb was not in Russia. It was aided. Of course, Zelensky, like any comedian, he had to voice out and make that noise that we are responsible. But we know who are responsible, and we know who to go through to do that. And by the way, if you've been following this war between us, every time Ukraine has attacked us in Russia, we have actually succeeded more. That's why we have actually captured a bigger region in Ukraine than we did before even Ukraine started attacking us in Russia. So I think.
No, but Isaiah, by the time they come and assassinate someone like that, top ranking, it exposes that really the security is not serious.
No. Security is never perfect, Peterson. That is why the Twin Towers were bombed. So that narrative we also understand Russia is compromised, but even America is always bombed.
Naye nze nsobola nekiraba mu positive way neŋŋamba nti kiraga obukkakkamu obuli mu Russia nti security tebagyongeddeeko. It is not a big threat.
It's because we know who did this, and we are going to demonstrate to the world. You wait. Thank you, moderator. You watch.
And don't cry.
You watch. 3 days, the war will be over. We are now in a year. You watch.
Now, Bob, the problem, Bob was born yesterday. When we started the special operations, in just 2 days, we are in Kiev. We dwelt there for an entire month. And then we went back willingly. That is one. So secondly, Ukraine has lost Ukraine and NATO has lost more than we have lost. So really,
you entered 3 years ago, not Gamba. In 1 month, you're going to be in what? You're going to have taken over Ukraine. 3
actually,
years
I gave
down the
you 1
road.
week. I gave you 1 week. I
Hey,
gave you
1 week, nice. It's
and then
3 years.
No, it is 3 years because I'm fighting the entire world. The entire NATO was there. What you guys have been following the news.
What did you expect?
Against
Did you expect
NATO
to fight Ukraine alone?
And then for you, when you're giving us 1 week, what are you basing on?
Because I was attacking Ukraine. Then NATO came in. Illegally, by the way. Illegally, because Ukraine is not a NATO member. Those things you don't look at. I've been fighting in the entire world.
By the way, Poland yatandise otendeka abaana.
And I have been consistent and persisted in that war for the last 2 years. I am still standing and victorious for that matter. because I've occupied
mpola
more
mpola.
spaces than even those which belong to the fellow Russians in Ukraine. What are you talking about? You guys are haters.
Bali
Isaiah
mukusabirira
Novo.
Trump atuuke.
Isaiah Novo tuyazasimo.
Nkuba atoba ne wano wenyini ne bwe muganging up ngaba natomba lina. Ate nga munyumya
Yebo.
kukora.
Isaiah, the war is over. The war is over.
And I am victorious because by the time we go on that table that Trump wants to prepare, my wish will be materialized. Mujja kukira.
Katulinde.
Tulinde. Tulinde.
Kale. I want us to go into our social topic. Tweet is a big brother. I'm going to Peterson yatidde.
Zireke.
Musaza, are you there, my brother? I want to start with you on this issue of the Mayanja family. Of course, it's just a case study or a teaching aid as we try and get to the bottom of this matter. Early this week, no, I think last week. Last week, I saw a video. Chameleon was hospitalized. He was not in a good health condition. Apparently, he was also sedated for a couple of days, and then he was woken up later. Of course, we already know what he was suffering from until some of us didn't know until his son, Abba, came out early this week and released the video, 6 minutes long, talking about how his father is suffering from pancreatic failure, how he drinks too much, how somebody has got raining on him. He blamed the organizers for continuing to give him work, yet they know he needs help. He basically, this son thinks the father should be in a rehab. So he blamed what do they call the promoters for giving him work. Blamed the grandparents for not doing anything about their son. Blamed everybody. But also he issued a rallying call and said, you know what, my father needs help. Guys, if somebody can help, please. Opinions were divided after that video went viral. Some think this is just a kid. How can he talk about his father like this publicly? I mean, in African societies, at least most of you here, Baganda, you know how it is. How can you talk about your father? Even if you know he has an issue, there are other ways of addressing it, to talk to his fellow big people and so on and so forth. On the other hand, some people think, bravo to this young man. Some actually said, if my son came out and said this kind of thing, I would be proud. You know, it means he's looking out for me. He has my back. He's talking about things which nobody can talk about. There's some taboo subjects. Nobody is you know. The day we lose Chameleon, all of us will come out and say, oh, we all knew he had a drinking problem, but nobody ever addressed it. So that's what some people thought the young man was being very brave. Musazi has dropped off, unfortunately. So let me start with Petero. Petero, what do you think about this issue? Of course, there are many subtopics we could discuss in there. The issue of addiction, the issue of how a child should relate with the parent, especially when the parent has a problem, such as this one, and so on and so forth. So Peter, I'll start with Chambogo. Peter, and then Nicholas, and then I'll go to... Peter, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Kakati.
Musazi, you dropped off, so I've moved on to another person. I'll give you another chance. Peter?
No problem. I had a problem with the internet.
First, nze omwana kana akamanyiiro ko guno omulembe ak'abaana okuwalampa abazadde. Ne bw'oba oŋŋamba kituufu kitya tommanyiira otyo. Kugamba akamanyiiro ako. Saagala.
Abba yalikoze atya mu ngeri eno?
Abba kye ki?
Tabani wo ssebo.
Ng'agamba ki?
Kyonywa nnyo, otugenda kufiira omwenge we guyitirizza.
Era nga tusaba tubiyingiremu.
Kati ambuulire nga ne bwe neebaka ku nnyina.
Chameleon ate oyombera ki?
Kasasiro. Obo obusirusiru bwammwe obwo obw'abaana mbu omwana ŋŋamba ki? Omwana bw'aba alina ky'aŋŋamba ate ng'alina ne ky'agamba asooka ayitire owa ssengaawe oba kitaawe omuto atandikire awo ku leva eyo.
Senga ne bajjajja
Anti raba omwana yagambye
kulya kasasiro.
nti ne bajjajjaabe nabo tebafa ku mutabani.
Era baba basuubiza
Already
okulya
mu family
kasasiro.
bafiirwa ddala munakyalo gyako microphone yo sinakuwa mukisa.
Ekyo kakati ekyo kwegamba n'agenda ku village square n'akwata omuzindaalo. Ebyo yali yamala dde obigamba ku kitaawe.
Tetumanyi at this point. Tetumanyi naye.
First and foremost, okwo kwe kusooka okulaga nti waliwo obuzibu mu parenting. Musumba Isaya wano agamba nti obuzibu bwe tulina mu ggwanga abaana bazadde baana bannaabwe. Saawe nnyini wensooka waliwo engeri ey'okwogera n'omuzaddewo. Tulina mu Bayibuli tusoma waliwo omuvubuka otegedde yagenda n'alaba obwerere bwa kitaawe. Tuyinza okugamba nti kitaawe yamwebikkulira simanyi and so on and so on. Naye emu ku moral lessons ze tuyigaawo, omwana olina engeri gy'olina okureactingamu nga kitaawo oba muzaddewo ali mu nsobi. Ne tojja mu kubanga otegeera nnyo n'ogenda mu village square n'okwata omuzindaalo kwegamba n'ompabulira eyo kubanga ne gw'ozadde akubira eŋŋoma n'ozina. Ekyo nakyo kirina context yakyo. So njagala nze kutandikira awo. Abba weebale nnyo n'opinion yo ey'amagezi. Naye amagezi tegamala, twetaaga n'okutegeera. So nze kitaawo olina engeri gy'oŋŋambamu. Togenda n'okwata TV n'ogenda ku TV eyo gy'oŋŋambira. Otegedde? So awo Abba nze wentandikidde. Abba namuyisizaamu dda emigga atonnya musaayi. Bamungigyeko bannange omwana nja mutta. Atonnya musaayi kati.
Tom wandiise omukono n'oyagala kukwanukula. Tom.
Wangisewo.
Abba baleete
emigo Abba baleeta gyaki? Ekisooka Abba yabagambye yakoze disclaimer nti byengenda okwogera byonna bisibuka ku jjajja wange. Jjajja wange yalemererwa okuluŋŋamya taata tasobodde kunnuŋŋamya. N'olwekyo abalinga Peter abasuubira okunkuba emiggo temunkuba kubanga ekikolo mayanja. Naye ndowooza nti wangi
genda mu maaso.
Naye ndowooza nti omwana alina ensonga. Ekisooka guno omulembe si gwe mulembe guli ogw'edda gwe baateeranga abaana wansi w'ekisero ne babakuba emiggo ate ng'abaana batuufu. Abakulu bwe baayonooneranga empewo ne bavunaana abaana ate ne babakuba. I think omulembe ogwo gwaggwawo tegukyaliwo. Abaana basobola okwogera, basobola okweyogera. In fact kino kya mukisa nnyo nti kati omwana Abba alabye obuzibu omwenge we gutuusiza taata we. Kati alabika ye ajja kugwewala. Kati ndowooza tufunye ekiramu mwoyo omwana. Tuleme kukastigatinga mwana nti omwana ate yabadde teyeyogeredde mu foramu ntuufu, yabadde alina engeri gy'ateeka okwogera ku nsonga zino. Yalisanzeewa kitaawe nga kitaawe asula mu bbaala akomawo ssaawa 4-5 ez'emisana ng'omwana agenze ku ssomero. So nze ndowooza nti okwerowoozaako n'eddalu lyaffe nti ate tukolenga ensobi naye ng'abaana tebasobola kuziraba, tebateekwa kuziraba na kuzoogerako. I think byakoma dda. Nze ndowooza nti ng'abantu tutunuulire ono omwana by'agamba bituufu si bituufu, nga tetunaba kugamba nti foramu n'engeri gye yabyogeddemu y'engeri enkyamu. Tewali ngeri nkyamu ya kwogera mazima, teriyo. Neyanza moderator.
Amusazi, can you talk now?
Yes, I can.
What do you think about this Mayanja family issue?
My view is not any different from Pastor Rion Tom's view.
Oh, he's not a
Because-
pastor. Or maybe
I'm
he
sorry.
became, I was not aware. But go on.
I think I misremembered because I remember seeing something like
Wama Musazi, I could be your pastor. Don't worry.
so my view is not different from his. I think that at his age, Abba knows what his father is not doing right, and it's now an open secret that his father is an alcoholic, and maybe most of the problems he is facing now are as a result of his alcoholism. So as a concerned son, he has to talk about that. It's a serious problem because, Chameleon is a respected artist. We know this. Chameleon, Bobby Wine, Bebe Cool, Juliana Kanyomozi. These are some of the singers credited for popularizing Ugandan music. Before the early 2000s, many of us were listening to Congolese music, Western music. That is not to say we didn't have local music. Africa was there. But local music was not as popular as foreign music. So they hit the music landscape and begin transforming everything. So he is admired for that. He has a big following. I saw the other day the police chief was saying that he's a music lover and he likes Chameleon's music very much. So Chameleon is a household name, but there's also that part of Chameleon that really is not good at all. And I think it's the reason his wife is now living overseas. Those of you who are on social media have seen what his wife has said about him. In fact, she put up with a lot of nonsense meted out to her by Chameleon. And you can say that Chameleon's love for the bottle was partly responsible for that. Because you come home drunk, the woman blames you for coming home drunk. Maybe the woman has even evidence that you are womanizing. And when she blames you, you start beating her up. And you do it so seriously that she has even to seek medical attention. That is unacceptable. So there is a part of Chameleon that is really messy. And this does apply to all those other celebrities. I don't know what's wrong with singers, musicians. Here, what you see in public is not what you see in their private lives. For me, I love their music, but I'm sorry to say that I don't think that their private lives are really good. Even Juliana Kanyomo, who is now viewed as a lady, you remember in 2012, there was that incident at Serena. I think she got romantically involved with South African Ugandans, and They took photos of her in a way it was really bad. But now the public forgot about that. Life has moved on. To go back to Chameleon, he deserves the blame from his son. No responsible son can just merely look on when he knows the problem. The problem is Chameleon drinks a lot. He drinks a lot, and the drinking has resulted in the health problems that nearly claimed his life. I was reading news stories on social media the other day. I think it was the New Vision that reported that he was in critical condition. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Mukwana, I saw a video today. I think it's Bob who shared it. Is it Bob or Pedson? Daniela, Chameleon's wife from 2017, saying, actually, at that time she had left her marital home and I think gone to her father's house. And the issue was drinking. She was saying the man was drinking too much. He would come back in the morning. He would have peed his pants. He would not know what time it was, and so on and so forth. And the woman's argument at the time was, you have children. These kids are now old enough. They can see these things. You need to change. You need to style up. On the other hand, some people actually think it is the wife who was stressing Chameleon, partly, who pushed him into that kind of lifestyle. Apparently, his home was not a bed of roses. That's why he resorted to drinking and so on and so forth. Okay, Nicholas is not switching on his mic. Amuna Chalo. Nicholas Azekale. Oline Peter.
We share.
Okay, nsonga ya Chameleon je tuliko.
Muna ebintu by'amaka tebitegerekeka. So si byangu byakuwa opinion. Nze mbadde married for 12 years. Nenjagala okugamba nti ebintu bya marriage bizibu. Nali nsanzeeko nga batraininga abaana bange ebyokuŋŋamba. Era kyemaze okulaba abaana bonna bambi. I'll give you an example. I have a friend of mine in a church. He says he began to understand his father when he got married. And unfortunately, the father had died. But the rest of the time, the father was alive. He misunderstood him and never, ever tried to understand the father. The same happened. And I've ever shared this here, that the women need serious either counseling or education, because they are constantly turning the children against the parent right from the womb. When you do something, it tells the child, have you seen what your father is doing to me? I'm carrying you, I'm suffering. That man. Now, that boy, you just even hear the name. Is it Baba? What?
Abba.
Yeah, nomenclature. Oyo man is a reflection of the stupidity of the mother. Kubanga tata wone wabanga anywa omwenge n'afama mu ngoye. Tosobola kugenda ne kuba neba n'ogamba tata wange banange mugambeko. You cannot mwetereza. Naye omwana agenda ku social media with that audacity. Yes, with that audacity, there is a voice behind. And somebody said that women, with due respect, the women who are here, that women will always remember two things: the good things she did for you and the bad things you did to her. So, byebateeka mu baana, babulira abaana tata we yankola bwati, namusanga mwavu, namusanga kati ebyana bambi with the stupidity that comes with naivety, ne bagira obusungu ne bateeka ku taata.
Kati oyo omwana aligenda okutegera the value of the father ng'afudde ng'awasizza awo alyoka ajjukira bambe ebintu byenagamba taata si bituufu. Nze experience gye mbadde nayo mu counseling. I started counseling married before I got married. Naye nali very good counselor nga siri married than I am. Kubanga kati simanyi kyagamba bafumbo. Kubanga there is a seed that came from Eve, from the Garden of Eden, that eats the female species so much. Of course, while we were very few parents that women, mothers that speak well about their husbands, but they are very few. Naye nze mu counseling zembaddeko zonna abasajja bacomplaininga abaana tebabawa ekitiibwa abaana naye nga bonna bali trained balina engeri gye babateekamu okuyisamu bataata bwaba maaso. So ekyo eky'omwana oyo bambi singa kisoboka Uganda ebadde ekwata omwana oyo emukuba emiggo kubanga musajja. Naye kati n'owulira ekisajja nakyo kigamba bwe kale singa oyo abadde mwana wange. Kankomaawo sebo.
Yes, Dr. Bukwana. Musazi wants to respond. His hand is up.
Yes, I just want to respond to the speaker who has just finished speaking. I think he blames women. He has overblamed women because I don't know how many people on this platform are married, but I find that if a man is responsible as a husband, treats the wife well, is faithful, more importantly, faithful to the woman, provides for the family, the wife is going to have respect for you. But we know that there are men who are married, they go and start sleeping around. And this is not to suggest that there is anybody here I know is doing this, but I'm talking about men that I've seen in my life. They are running around with girls. Maybe the children back home don't even have things that they need, things like clothes. But the guy is spending money on a mistress and comes home drunk. The wife knows this. How do you expect your wife to react? If you are a violent husband, she may pretend that she does not see what is going wrong, but she knows, and she's not happy about it. So my point is that, yes, there are issues in marriages, but if the two people upon whom marriage rests are respecting each other, they are executing their respective responsibilities, I don't think that we are going to have the kind of problems we are talking about. I mean, would Abba, would the wife of Chameleon be saying the things that we know they have said now, even for years, in the case of the woman? Because I first saw her stories about how the husband beats her, I think in 2013, if I remember correctly. And the Chameleon came out and said, I am a Catholic, I can't do that. He was really saying things that were irrelevant because he wasn't responding to the accusations his wife made. So
Thank you,
you have to look at the root.
Sorry, I didn't mean to mute you. But I think you've made your point. The men should sometimes how the women react is a response to the men.
Exactly.
So I think omogezi oyo avaayo I disagree with him. Kino ekintu kiri mirundi ng'esatu. Ekisooka, we have failed ng'omuzadde kubanga empisa gye baakuyisaamu ewaka y'empisa gy'ogenda oyisaamu bazadde bo. Muwala wo, you are the first boyfriend era you shape her future husband. Ne mutabani wammwe alabira ku maama wammwe omusajja omukazi gwali wasa. So I think Chameleon has failed kubanga ate kuba abaana abo tabawadde budde. So ekirala ekyo ekyokugamba nti abakazi balina boogera ebyo ebintu. You men, where are you? Tuyinza okulowooza nti no omulimu gwaffe gwa providing. Nze I've divorced too. Very proud, each one with a child.
That oli mwangu munakyala.
You mess around, you go. Kati. But abantu abo ababiri, abaana abo ababiri, they know what I do. Mbeera first day ey'okusomero nga ngenda osasula school fees. Ngenda nabo oba nenfuna time nemutwala ku shopping. Netugenda netugula ebintu netugenda ku ssomero. Nemparticipatinga mu bulamu bwe. Essomero liyina essimu zange. So bansindikirako nti simanyi wagenda kubeerayo sports day. Abatera okulaba status zange muziraba. I create time for children. Why? Kuba mmanyi eno generation nfu. Generation eyina TikTok, eyina biki. Recently nayuza monitor wa maama we gye yali awadde omwana. Mbw amazeeko simanyi top class. How? Namukolera monitor wa. Is money there for playing around? Oba waliyo emiti egimerako sente. So I'm part of their lives. Era omwana owange bw'ontuuka mukebera ayambadde kibi bamutaddeko, and I question. So maama w'omwana anaafuna ddi obudde obumugamba nti taatawo teyakola kino na kino. Fine, bw'aba abimugambye omwana ono ng'akulaba kubanga at some point omu ku my ex yagamba omwana taatawo like aganye okumpa hug, aganye okukola bwati, like those funny moves. Naye omwana namureasoninga ng'ali awo, no, you don't force things, you don't do this, myaka emeka? Myaka 8. So abaana fe aba beeyonoonedde. Era Chameleon yeeretedde bino kaba bimukube. Yagenze mu mazina g'enkima kaba bimukube. Okomawo otya ng'otamidde ebbanga lyonna ate n'ogattako n'okubeera nga oyomba mu lujjudde. Kubanga bazadde baffe ani yawulirako omuzadde we ng'ayomba ne maama ng'addamu taata. Taata yawanga ekiragiro, ogenda owulira oluvuuvuumo luli mu kisenge ng'ate mwe baabagobye era n'omala obawulira musango ogukkubye. So generation eno yeeyonoonese, and if we don't take care nga ffenna mwenna abali ku platform eno, era tugenda kubeerawo tutyo if you behave like that. Naye ebyo byokugamba mbuna mukazi biki akazi tubawe ekitiibwa, simanyi ekisukkiridde equality, ebyo gender balance bye mwogerako, ebyo kaput mubitwale ebweru. Ate yewasinga divorces, yewasinga ebizibu by'emitwe naddala mu bufumbo. So if we don't get back to our culture, engeri gye twakuzibwamu, we expect more fools and idiots. Thank you.
Thank you, Munachalo. Petson?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Me, I am on Mayanja's side, and I am also going to support Isaac. You could actually see that the boy was reading from a script, which was maybe prepared by the mother. So it is actually so unfortunate that when you have issues with your partner, then you want to bring in these children also to be either on your team or on the other side's team. And that's what was actually being shown. Because yes, we can say that we're in a .com era where we have things like TikTok and where you even go and express family issues on something like that, which I think was uncalled for, unnecessary, uncalled for, because we knew that Chameleon, yes, uses alcohol, but then not to the extent that it makes him to be bedridden. Now, you as a family member, if you really come and expose your family person on social media and you put that issue in public, really, it is very unfair. And me, that is the part that I blame the mother. I can excuse the boy because you is still young, maybe even didn't know really what he was talking about. But then number two, in life, sometimes we have turning points. How I pray that this can be a turning point for who? For Chameleon. Because alcohol use and abuse is a very bad thing. Recently, we lost Radio Mose, which was also it was also due to alcohol, because he was in a bad drinking and then he got high and started fighting with a fellow gentleman. So maybe this can be a turning point that from what he has, or from what his son has talked about, maybe it is high time that he will reconsider the use of alcohol. Then the last one is really the domestic, should I call it that? Not the domestic violence, but I think Chameleon, ever since the wife left, he has really been struggling. Even if musically, you don't hear serious songs from him. Because yes, you can say Bobby Wine, for him, he went into politics, but at least you see his partner, his colleague, Pepe Cool, for him, is still doing music. But Chameleon somehow went silent. You hear him in collabos, then once in a year he drops a hit song. So he's been there, really. He's been there in space, hanging. You don't know where he is. And maybe this could be attributed to his wife leaving him, and then also increased the use and abuse of alcohol. So as we throw stones at him, we also need to understand what this guy is actually going through. It may not just be his desire to drink, but maybe what he's going in his life is causing him to go through all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Petson. Ebi, my master. Gwekikiridde abakyala wano kakati. Many of the gentlemen here think omukyala yayonoona abaana, jjukira babeera mu America, yali nabo. Nalabye actually Abba yawandiise post endala ku Instagram ye ndowooza ng'ayogera this time about domestic violence. Maama we gye yayitamu. obviously mama we yabimugamba so bayabiraba but naye yabiwandiise naye abasinga temwabirabi. Abby, can you talk? You can't talk but you can type. Kale Isaiah gwokiikirira mukyala wo Abby.
Nakyo n'okuneesibako kyetaaga tuzaaleyo ki Abba agende ku gundi akirambe. Gambe my mother Abby was not supportive to my father Isaiah.
Tandikiraawo ensonga za Chameleon but also generally abaana ensonga za bakitaawe balina ziyingiramu batya era ddi if at all.
Abaana ba kitundu ku bulamu bwa bakitaabwe bwe baba nga bakyali ne kitaabwe. N'olwekyo kitundu so lowooza nti abaana kasita baba nga bali wamu ne kitaabwe oba nga bali wamu ne nnyaabwe ensonga zaabwe zibakwatako era bateekwa okuzoogerako.
Batya
Abba alina emyaka emeka?
17.
Kakati Abba alina emyaka 17 tabeera na kitaawe kati amwogerako atya oba tabeera naye Abba tafunako na luwummula ewaba Bob gye basomera mu Bamerika baabwe tafunako na luwummula ajje abeere ne kitaawe okumala omwezi mulamba tulabe kitaawe ng'azze ku kivvulu ng'azze ne mutabani we atugambe mutabani wange yawummudde wuuno wano. Emirundi gye ndabyeko emitono egibadde mu mawulire egiri documented Chameleon yagenda eri ebweru gye yabagulira ennyumba oba ye yabagulira ennyumba oba yakola ki sijjukira gy'agenda n'abasanga. So Abba emyaka 17 ayina kubeera ashamed nti Chameleon ye kitaawe so tayina kuswaza Chameleon kubanga tabadde kitaawe mulungi. Oba waliwo ategeera bye mbagamba?
Ayina kubeera ashamed nti Chameleon ye kitaawe.
Yes. Muzaddewo kasita ayonooneka oyina kuswala nti oyo muzadde omwononefu ye muzaddewo so toyina kujja n'oswaza muzaddewo omuswavu.
Kutegedde.
Kakati ono omwana kye yakoze yazze kuswaza muzadde we already omuswavu. Kakati Abba ddala yatuwadde information yatuwadde mawulire alina kye yatuyigiriza kye tubadde tutamanyi. Tumanyi taata we drug addict. Simanyi oba Abba yali alina emyaka emeka taata we bwe yayimirira ku kalina n'alaba ng'ali wansi n'abuuka.
N'alaba eriyoota.
N'abuuka n'adayivinga okukkakana ng'amagulu bagatadde mu byuma. Abba yalina emyaka emeka kubanga ffe tubaddewo tukuze ne kitaawe.
Yali muto ndowooza mu biseera ebyo.
Kati ffe talina mawulire ge yatuwadde. Talina mawulire ge yatuwadde ku kitaawe, talina mawulire ge yatuwadde ku bajjajjaabe.
Oba yabadde asaba buyambi bwa taata we.
Maama wa Chameleon kye mugamba temumumanyi. Temumanyi bw'asabuka. Kati bw'olaba maama wa Chameleon olaba ng'asobola okuleera nga yalera. Kale yalera ani? Yalera AK-47 omugenzi. Yalera Paso yakulira mu Amerika. Yalera Wizo. Juzi twali tetuliringa na kizibu kya Wizo. Kati Abba yazze kutugamba ki?
Tumutaase taata we.
So Abba asirikire gy'ali abeere muswavu kubanga mutabani wa Mayanja oyo. aleme kukyayisa taata we n'abantu abatannaba kumutegeera nti mudwangufu. Kubanga population eri very gullible, abantu bayinza okuga nti n'omwana we tamwagala. Tokuba nnyimba za musajja oyo n'omwana we tamwagala. Akatale ka kitaawo okasi. Kyokka ennyumba ze mulimu mu Amerika ssente azijjero n'abaleetera. So myaka 17 liyale oteeka okuba ng'otegeera kubanga wazze mu kamera otulage ng'ategeera. Owooza taata wange drug addict naawe osibye agaviiri. Gwe olina moral authority. Gwe agaviiri g'osibye gwe Abba. Goga abaana bategeevu.
Enviiri zirina butawaana ki mu
Anti bwe bitwe bitandika kitaweze yasooka naye okusiba nga tannanywa. Kati kiki ekimusibye enviiri? Anti tuli ku standards. Zo ziri health tugende mu science tukebere nti abasiba enviiri zo babeera health.
Fashion.
Anti tuli mu moral authority gye tuliko. Omulenzi ateeka osiba enviiri by the standards.
Chazo yagala kuteso yagala kuwa information. I see your hand up. So
abere muswavu. Saagala information.
Yes.
Abba abere muswavu.
Later when he's done.
Abba abere muswavu kubanga kitaawe ye Chameleon. Tuli bangi nnyo abalina bakitaffe nga ba Chameleon. Tetubaleeta mu mawulire. Nze ng'omusomesa wa Bayibuli, omwana yalangirira obwerere bwa Nuuwa ye yakolimirwa. Omuzadde we bw'abeera nga muswavu, eno kalikya yaffe. Omuzadde we bw'abeera nga muswavu, obeera muswavu, so tolaalaasa buswavu bwe. Nolwekyo Abba abeere muswavu, kuba talina information gye yatuwadde, kyenjagala ensi etegeere. Kyova olaba ba Nicholas n'abalala abantu abalowooza, bo baakirabye dda. Nga maama akyalwana ne bbaawe. Omusajja yakuleka n'akuleka mu Amerika. Domestic abuse. Gwe weka gwasoose okubeera abused. Gwe nno n'okugiwona wagiwona. Oli mu Amerika. Daniel also should get over Chameleon. Nali wano ne mbagamba ndi kasita olaba abaagalana nga batabuse tekubeera mutuufu. Here we are. Chameleon ayinza okuba nga yali abuser. Yali abuser. Naye gwe Daniel gwe wamulonda.
N'omuzaalamu n'abaana emyaka gyonna gye.
2, 3 ng'era akwabusi nga gwozaala buzaazi. Wategeera ddi munna abuser n'okola ki?
Yaguma lw'abaana.
Kakati wazaala abaana mu abuser kati bali ku mikutu batutawaanya tubateesa nako. Kyembabuulira nti kasita olaba abaagalana nga batabuse tukubeera mutuufu. Daniel naye ateeka okubeera omuswavu nti abaana be yabazaalamu ono asirikireyo gy'ali ave ku musajja kikyo tekiikome taamale lutaakome. Empize yakkuba n'emisipi gye yakkuba tegyawona n'enkovu teziwonanga. Move on. Lekera okusindiikiriza abaana okujja okuvuma omusajja. Musajja ebizibu by'alina bimumala. Mwe Chameleon mulaba ali bulungi. Atunula ng'enkoko ekubiddwa enkuba ng'alina obukadde 5. Gw'olaba ng'ali bulungi.
Ngaddi bwe yabeera obulungi.
Webale nnyo. Kakati omukazi ono ateeka okwesonyiwa omusajja ono. Amuveeko. Gw'olaba Chameleon afaana bulungi. Aba tafaana bulungi 24/7. Tali bulungi alina ebizibu bimumala. Nolwekyo moderator njagala okukubiriza abantu ffenna abali wano. Bw'oba olina omuzadde omuswavu, beera muswavu okumwogerako. Ntera okulaba abantu nga bakutte amasimu n'akuba maama w'ekifaananyi n'amuteeka ku social media mbw'oyo ye wange. Sooka omulongoose. Tetuganye ye wuwo naye sooka omulongoose twala eri. Oyo ye wange. Oyo ye wange maama abeera maama naye omuleese otya? bannamawulire musaza ali wano munnamawulire bannamawulire balina empisa mbu bamayina tebabakuba bifaananyi etteekero mulijjukira eryo ekigenderwa ky'abantu bannamawulire abakugu babeera bagezao okulaga nti ogenda kumuswaza ogenda kumukosa kakati oluusi tukosa ne bazadde baffe Abba ye taata we yamusudde bukolokolo ne bajjajjaabwe ekika kyonna yakirese bukolokolo n'akikuba mu mawulire
n'asuula eri kasasiro mwere
it's not fair
n'abadde tetumanyi nti nno gundi tutandise okuba obufaananyi
omuzadde wo muleke Abba tannakula tamanyi bye tuyitamu tamanyi bintu kamiliyoni byayiseemu okufuuka ekyo kyali modoleta njagala kuwunzika na kino kye njagala okuwunzika nakyo nga kigwa mu disikani yaffe gye mwayogeddeko edda nze ndi muwagizi wa mupiira nnyo n'ogusamba ngusamba ewaffe mu mupiira bannabitone baffe mu mupiira balina amateeka ge bagoberera naye tuyisawo n'ekiseera ne tubakebera nga kyetukebera tukebera ebiragalalagala alireeta sitika akati omukwate ye Modric owa Chelsea omulala yakamala okumalako ekibonerezo kye ye Pogba Omufalansa bano abakoze etteeka ly'ebivulu bo banaatukolerayo ly'etteeka ery'ebiragalalagala nga bamugambye nti omuntu okola ekivulu alina kujja wano munaagenda ddi ng'abayimbi bakola mukebereko ko ng'ava ku siteegi
gundi tuwe ku musulo gwo
etuwe ku musulo gwo wano kubanga bwe toyinza kuba nga okwata bukwasa okwepiikya ng'ate omala n'ofiirwa kamiliyoni mu kiragalalagala kubanga wafiirwa kafeero mwenge gwe gwamutta n'ofiirwa rediyo biragalalagala na mwenge kamiliyoni wuuyo agenda taliiwo oyo naye gwe mutunuulire era naye agenda biragalalagala kati mwe abeefuula abakulembera abayimbi bali bannabitone abalaba omupiira temulaba we bakola kubanga nawulidde nga gavumenti egamba nti kamiliyoni bamutwale mu Amerika ajjanjabibwe simanyi oba ekyo mwakiwuliddeko
nakiwuliddeko nze
naye kujjanjabibwa ki ekizibu si kyakujjanjabibwa rihabu zijjudde mujjukira ono muwala Kyandiru
Jackie Kyandiru
mujjukira ono fiye ono ayina munne abalwadde abaana abayimbi bonna bali mubiragalalagala bo mubakebirako ddi kubanga mwokubakozesa mubakozesa ono kino ekivubuka ekyekyejo kyekyani ekyo kyejuzi kye baali basibye bibeerawo alien skin bannanfuzi mujja ne mubikozesa ne mukola mobilization naye byo mubiyambako ddi kubanga eventually yenkwakyo ojja sanga oluba lwa alien skin lulookingiddeyo tewali amuyamba mulinda bagwe ku kitanda mulyoke mubayambe
balinda bagende
ndowooza nti ekyo tekiri feya era ono omuyimbi yennyini ali ku kitanda yayimba dde oluyimba tino basiima ogenzi naye ndowooza nti okusiima kamiliyoni ekisingira ddala ennyo kwe kumuwa kiri kye yasaba ng'ali kololo bamuwe studio atuule awo kimu kyakubiri bamuteeka amateeka amakakali industry yonna bagyorganizinge Jenosali musalalekeraawo kugiyiwamu buyiyi ssente agiyiwemu structure ng'abayimbi bakeberebwa bakusangamu ebiragalalagala nga bakuwera okuyimba okumala ebbanga bwe riti bwe mutwe musobola okubayamba naye bino ebyokubajjanjaba
Isaiah tuyanziza kansokere wa musazi your hand has been up for a while you wanted to respond to Isaiah I guess
Yes, and my comment is very brief. It's a question, when do you consider someone's exposure of a problem an attempt to embarrass and an attempt just to show the public that this is a problem. You need to know it.
Isaiah should answer that very, very quickly.
No, kuchitegera sikitegedde nze.
I will repeat for you. Chameleon's son came out to talk about a problem, and you've been saying he sought to embarrass his father. And I am asking you, when can someone say this is a problem? And when can you say, I am embarrassed? This person is going to is talking about a problem, but is seeking to embarrass someone.
Okay, thank you very much. It's not a question of when, it is a question of who and where. This is where we get things wrong. It's not when should Abba come out. No, it's who should come out, 1. 2, where. Abba has no moral authority whatsoever to go live on internet and expose the entire family. There is no need.
But that's your opinion. He has a problem.
No. You don't share your family secrets in the disguise of my opinion.
No, he is talking about a problem that affects him.
No. He's not supposed even to talk about that problem. It is not in his place to talk about that problem. It is not. That's why I told you it's not a question of when. It's a question of who and where. He has no right whatsoever. Secondly, he was not informing the public about Chameleon. We know more about Chameleon than Abba knows. So it was not in his, it is not his call. He's not warranted whatsoever to come out and expose family secrets and family problems. We all have problems here. Should we start talking about them? We don't.
Actually, we are Chameleon, very public secrets.
So ne family onagirese bajjajja bonna basiru avumye jjajjawo omukazi avumye jjajjawo omusajja amumalidde ku ttaka avumye kitaawe amumalidde ku ttaka akomyewo era
bo bagezi
mwe mulowooza olw'okubanga abasiru be bangi kwe gaffe mujja kututuliranga butuulizi tetweyogereko
Jjajja Abba bo bagezi tomuyabuuza.
andi kaakati kyekyo kye nkugambye bajjajja abasiru tebavangayo kugamba nti omwana waffe asusizza omwenge. Kati ono omusiru omuto atandise okukulaakulanya obusiru abututte ku levo endala bali baabukumira ku levo ya wansi. Ffe tunaabonabona bonyibonyi ne famire yammwe. Ndi mu bulumi omusiru abakazi bawasa omukazi akuzalira omwana atategeera. Wama Ebbi, how are you, sweet?
Mbononya nyash.
Bob dropped off tafunye chance kwogera ku nsonga eno. Ebbi jangu.
I was wishing Priest a good night.
Ekikirizibwa oluvaawo nga muyomba
abo batuzaalira ba Abba.
Oyo tasobola kuzaala Abba, oyo tasobola.
Nabuya mugitwale eri mugijja wano.
Bagitwale eka mwoca bayitayo tya mukavule.